Welcome to today's video. In this episode, we're diving into the most effective natural methods to combat dementia based on the valuable teachings of Barbara O'Neill. You'll discover lifestyle choices and holistic approaches to keep your brain healthy and functioning at its best. Make sure you don't miss the key segment where we explore the direct connection between depression, mental health, and brain health. This knowledge could be the key to improving and protecting your well-being sustainably. Let's get started. As a thank you for joining us today, I'm giving away 100 free copies of my best-selling book to viewers who subscribe to the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment below explaining why you'd love a free copy. Thank you for watching, and now let's dive in.
The skull. And with the skeletal system, it's an internal structure causing us to stand upright. But when it comes to the head, the skeletal system now becomes an external structure. It becomes an external structure because it is now protecting the most delicate and yet the most important organ of the body. But when you have a look at the head, you will see 7 avenues of access into the brain. There are 2 ears, there are 2 eyes, there are 2 nostrils, and there is a mouth. Everything we hear or have ever heard, everything we see or have ever seen, everything we smell, and everything that goes into our mouth, whether it be food or drink, has an effect on the brain. Our decisions determine our destiny. So how important that we know something about the decision-making part of our brain. This is an area that many people are ignorant. The little book, The Ministry of Healing, which I see is up the back in the foyer, it says in there on page 127 that the only hope of better things is the education of the people in right principles. It's a tragic thing today that in Australia, 50% of Australians are or will suffer from some form of mental illness. And 1,700 cases of Alzheimer's is being diagnosed every day in Australia. These figures indicate that many people don't understand their brain and they don't realise that we have more control over what we do and even what we say than we think we do. So in this short little time I have with you this morning, I'd like to just open the door a little bit and show you the parts of our brain where we make our decision and what influences them. So we're going to begin by looking at the brain. Now the brain, from side on, it looks a little bit like this. And there is what's called the limbic system. And the limbic system basically takes up about that part of the brain. And this limbic system is often called the emotional brain. And I think we all know about emotions. And I think we all know that emotions aren't a very good guide because they go up and down like the wind. But there's another part of our brain that God designed to actually control that limbic system, that emotional part of the brain. So to do this, we're going to have a look at the brain from top down. From top down, you will have a look at the brain like this, and in the front part of the brain, and we're going to call this the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain, and I think the way you're looking it is. So in the right part of the brain, you could call that the I want section. That's down there. Sorry, not the I want, the I won't. Now this is a very important part of the brain. Where it's very important is, no, I won't have that cigarette. No, I won't have that cup of coffee. No, I won't have that big steak. I'll have a bowl of lentils instead. And on the left part of the brain is the I will. And the I will part of the brain is also very important because I will get out of bed and exercise this morning. I will go to bed early. I will make decisions that are helpful for my body. So you've got the I won't and you've got the I will. And we need a little bit of balance in there, and that's where we come to. Right in the centre is the I want part of the brain.
As I reflect on the structure of the human body, I realize just how crucial it is to protect the brain. the most delicate and essential organ. While we often focus on our external physical health, maintaining cognitive well-being requires consistent care every single day. One often overlooked factor is depression, a silent yet significant issue that can gradually lead to dementia over time. The chronic stress and chemical imbalances associated with prolonged depression deeply affect brain cells, impairing memory and decision-making abilities. This is why developing healthy habits to nurture and heal both the mind and body is absolutely vital. Simple practices like getting enough sleep, maintaining a balanced diet rich in brain-boosting nutrients, and engaging in regular physical activity can yield remarkable benefits. Additionally, stress-relieving activities like mindfulness, deep breathing, or spending quality time with loved ones help build the brain's resilience. By actively prioritizing mental health, we establish a strong foundation for sustained cognitive well-being in the long term.
Depression a way out. Every chapter starts with someone else's story, showing how they conquered depression, using some of the simple principles I'm showing you now and some of the simple principles I've been showing you all week. Dehydration affects depression. Late nights depression affect depression. So you can see what we're doing this morning. We're pulling those 8 physical laws we looked at this week, and we're pulling the 8 mental laws together. We should always have our detective hat on. You know, recently I consulted a private detective, and I said to him, "Oh, you're a private detective, so am I." I love the detective work of discovering why someone has a certain condition. It's Newton's third law of motion. To every action, there is an equal and an opposite reaction. Proverbs 26 verse 2 states that the curse causeless shall not come. You know what that means? No problem happens without a cause. There is always a reason. In fact, to say someone just has something is to defy basic science. So we should always be looking at the cause of a problem. And sometimes the problem for depression could be too much coffee, dehydration. So that's the best place to start. When someone comes to me wanting help with depression, do you know that's what I do? I said, start drinking more water. Start easing off your coffee. You could stop your coffee straight away, but you might suffer. A clear indication that it's not doing you any good. I say start going to bed early. Start limiting your technology time. Start seriously assessing what you're watching and the effect it's having on your brain. Start exercising. But I don't feel like exercising. Yes, that's your limbic emotional brain. But what do you want? I want to feel good. I want to conquer my depression, so I will go and exercise. Can you see how that all threads into each other? The second law is the law of choice. And the law of choice, as you can see, is determined in that I want, the frontal lobe part of the brain, your guardian, where your goals are. This is what you feel like doing, but this is what you want, so that influences your decisions. And when you're well slept, well hydrated, well sunned, well exercised, well fed, that I want part of the brain is a lot stronger. But we've got something else coming here, and that's habit. You've heard of habit? Habit can be our best friends or our worst enemies.
Through my practice, I've come to understand the deep connection between mental and physical health. Depression is not just a fleeting emotion, it has a far-reaching impact on the entire body. When prolonged, it accelerates cognitive decline, gradually contributing to dementia. The stress responses triggered by depression disrupt hormones, neurotransmitters, and overall brain function, weakening vital neural connections over time. The beauty of natural approaches lies in their simplicity and accessibility. Habits like staying hydrated, exercising regularly, and following a balanced diet not only build resilience against depression, but also help prevent cognitive decline. Hydration ensures optimal brain function, while exercise not only boosts mood, but also stimulates the production of growth factors that support brain cell health. A diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and vitamins provides essential fuel to keep the brain resilient and sharp. Managing daily habits such as avoiding late nights, reducing screen time, and prioritizing quality sleep is crucial for safeguarding brain health. Additionally, practices like mindfulness, journaling, and spending time with loved ones further strengthen mental and cognitive well-being. These small, consistent actions serve as a protective shield for the mind, creating an environment where the brain can thrive. Every conscious choice you make today lays the foundation for lasting cognitive health and clarity in the future.
Do you know, whatever you're going through, the Lord has an answer. And often we miss out on the answer because we went to bed too late and we don't hear that morning voice. We have a choice. Forgiveness is a choice. Let me tell you the story of a man who came to us. His name was Doug. I said, "Did you have a healthy, happy childhood?" He said, "No, I didn't. My father yelled at me all my life." He was 40. He had prostate cancer. I said to him, "Oh," sometimes that's all you can say, "Oh." I kept moving on because I could see it really irritated him. He heard all the lectures. He heard about the power of forgiveness. He heard about the fact that forgiveness is the only prescription in the entire universe that has the power to break the chemical bonds of hostility, anger, and hate. Forgiveness cuts the chains that bind you to painful past. Forgiveness gives you wings. He heard that in the lecture. I talked to him later after the lecture. I said, "Doug, you've heard about the power of forgiveness. Have you forgiven?" "You don't understand. He yelled at me all my life." I said, "I can understand that must have been very, very hard, Doug. But you've got quite a serious illness now, and I believe that for you to heal, you need to forgive your father." "You don't understand." His voice was rising. With fear and trepidation, I pushed it a little bit further. I said, "Doug, it'll only take a minute." "You don't understand." So I stopped. I backed off. Ooh, it was getting a little bit volatile in there. I changed the subject. 2 minutes later, Doug said to me, "I've done it." "Congratulations, Doug." Now, his limbic system, his emotional brain said, "Don't do this." Can you see that? And all his life, he'd been harboring this. "My father yelled at me. My father yelled at me. He yelled at me. He yelled at me. He yelled at me." Can you see what's happening in his brain? What was happening in his brain was he was developing a very strong habit pathway of anger towards his father. In fact, the first week, I heard him telling other people, other guests, "My father yelled at me all my life." Can you see it's getting bigger and bigger? And when in the lecture, he heard to forgive. You see, it's not a limbic emotional brain decision, or you'll never do it. It's an I want decision. What do I want? I want to be free. Notice what he said. "I've done it." No emotion there at all. How could there be? How could there be? Don't wait for your emotions. They'll hold you back. You see, the third law of the brain states that your words affect your feelings. So don't wait till you feel like it, or you possibly will never do it. And who would want to hold on to that pain? That's why it's so important to know about your limbic system, to know about your emotional feeling system, and understand that your guardian, your all want, that's where you make your decisions. In the Bible, we see Jesus in the garden. He's praying, "Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me." He knew he was about to be crucified. Notice what he ended it with, though. "Father, I don't want to do this." In his humanity. Notice what he ended with. "Nevertheless, not what I want, but what you want, God." It's all right to express. We've got emotional limbic brains.
I often say that our daily habits are the architects of our future. The brain, especially the limbic system, which governs emotional responses, plays a crucial role in shaping this future. When chronic stress or unresolved emotional pain lingers, the brain's defense mechanisms gradually weaken, leaving it more vulnerable to conditions like dementia. Developing positive habits, such as practicing forgiveness or encouraging yourself to stay physically active, can rejuvenate and restore the brain. These practices not only help stabilize emotions, but also strengthen and build more resilient neural pathways. In the long run, the choices we make to nourish our mind and body today will define our mental clarity and overall health in the years to come.
Fasting. An easy way to do it is to have breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, then have an 18-hour fast through to the next morning. Or come to Misty Mountain Health Retreat, where we make it really easy for you, and you do 2 days on vegetable and fruit juices. That's a shocker. It's a shock to the body when the food stops coming. That's one shock. The next shock is finishing every hot shower with a quick cold. Notice I didn't say long cold. I'm kind. That's a shocker. You'll go, it's a shocker. But it's going to stimulate your brain to release the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, new brain cells. Number 3, high-intensity interval training, running for your life for 30 seconds up hills, then having a break and then doing it again. That's a shocker. Feel like you're dying. So people that have been attending my lectures all week, and I'm sure you've been so excited about this, you've been doing it, are you feeling really smart right now? New brain cells. Something else can grow. Every time we learn something new, we develop another dendrite. I love memorising. It's one of my favourite things to do. And every time I learn new verses, another dendrite. If you play the piano and learn new pieces, there are 3 things that science shows are the most powerful in developing new dendrites. One is learning a new language, learning a musical instrument, and memorising Bible verses, because the Word of God is quick, powerful, sharper than any 2-edged sword, piercing even to dividing asunder of soul and spirit and the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. That's the Word of God. That's the Bible. People think I've got a good memory. I really don't. Now, that lady who played the piano, she didn't start playing yesterday, I'm sure. And I didn't start memorising yesterday. It takes a while. How long does it take to really solidify in your brain? Probably about 21 days. I learn a verse a week. If I do any more, it gets all jumbled up and I can't remember anything. So every time you learn something new, another dendrite grows. That one brain cell can develop 70,000 dendrites. I can hardly get my mind around that one. And you know what the research shows? We can be growing new dendrites right up until the day we die. So there are 3 things we can grow. We can grow new pathways, we can grow new dendrites, and we can even grow new brain cells. God is so good. What about shrink? When you forgive anyone who's ever hurt you in your life, your glial cells are activated to mop up all the thorns, and the pathway to that memory actually shrinks. So it needn't be part of your daily thoughts. That's the good news. So what's the bad news about shrinking? If you don't use your brain cells, you will lose them. I love the story about the 90-year-old man who learned to play the piano, and the 92-year-old man who graduated from law school. It's time, students. Number 7. The last law is the law of diversion. And the law of diversion states that when something is so firmly denied as to refuse any hope for it, the brain has the ability to divert to other pursuits. I love that law, because sometimes God closes a door, but what's the saying? When God closes a door, he opens a window. An Italian man said to me, no. What we say is when God closes one door, he'll open 2. Have you found that? When I hurt my arm, something happened to me the week before. I was in Warburton giving meetings like I have this week, and my right-hand man, he was the man that was with the chairs, he was doing the sound system and running round. He had one arm, and it was his left arm, and he was about 63. And every time I looked around, there he was there. What do you want me to do now? I said, how'd you lose your arm? He said, I was 7 years old. And he said, and it was an accident down on the farm and it got caught in an auger or something. He said, when I woke up in hospital the night after it had happened, or the morning after it had happened, he said, I sat up in bed and I said, nurse, get me a pen and paper. I've got to learn to write with my left hand. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. And happiness isn't things, it's not what's happening to you, it's a choice. It's a choice, and we have so much to be happy about, yeah? So much to be happy about.
It's truly remarkable how the body can be stimulated to create new brain cells and connections through simple yet powerful habits. Activities like high-intensity interval training, or RHET, controlled fasting, and continuous learning foster an environment where the brain thrives. On the other hand, depression hinders this natural process, slowing down cognitive agility and paving the way for cognitive decline. However, by engaging in challenging activities such as learning a new language or memorizing Bible verses, we actively build new neural branches, dendrites. These actions lay the foundation for a resilient mind, one that can withstand the threats of memory decline. So when faced with adversity, it's those conscious choices that help us not just survive, but truly thrive. This brings us to the conclusion of today's exploration into daily natural habits that can combat dementia. As we've discussed, depression can be a silent factor contributing to cognitive decline. Yet through intentional efforts in nutrition, exercise, and mental habits, we can fortify and strengthen our brain. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll continue to bring you life-changing health insights.